It's Friday, August 16, and time for your Barbados Today morning news update. Thanks for joining us. I'm Fernella Wedderburn. An apparent increase in stabbings has not escaped law enforcement officials. In fact, Attorney General Dale Marshall says the Royal Barbados Police Force is closely monitoring the worrying situation. So far for the year, the island has recorded 34 murders, 10 of them through stabbings.
We're seeing something that is also unprecedented in Barbados, the tremendous number of stabbings. It is almost as if knives have become the second weapon of choice. This is something that we're watching very closely because it is exactly the phenomena that the UK is fighting with. And you know, one of the things that we've talked about in CARICOM in our security in the CARICOM heads meetings is that we have to start thinking of treating crime as if it were an illness and as a public health problem. Okay, and this is not something that's fanciful. This is a strategy that's being adopted across the world. It is a public health issue, and we have to adopt strategies that are similar to how we've dealt with public health issues in the past.
That was Attorney General Dale Marshall addressing yesterday's post-cabinet press briefing at government headquarters. He said that there were no overnight solutions to the crime situation facing the country, but assured that his ministry has implemented a number of strategies to arrest the situation.
To encourage the people of Barbados to believe that there's an overnight solution would be wrong of us. What we've embarked on are a series of methodical, well-thought-out strategies that we firmly believe are bearing fruit. The numbers of boots on the ground have been effective. The campaign of the Royal Barbados Police Force has been effective. And I'm really grateful, and I'll say it again, to the members of the Royal Barbados Police Force for continuing even now to sacrifice that one day off and put their all into helping the Barbadian society to settle. It is a multi-pronged challenge for us. We not only have to deal with the question of interdiction, arresting the perpetrators, we have the serious task of finding the firearms. Now, the investments have been made, but they have to be given time to pay off.
New laws are coming to govern how jet ski operators conduct their business on the island's waters. And Minister of Maritime Affairs and Blue Economy Cook Humphrey is putting those who currently flout the law on notice that their days are numbered. Minister Humphrey said the lack of order among some operators was simply unacceptable.
Unfortunately, there's been a number of reports pertaining to the jet ski operators, the way that they conduct themselves, the abuse to tourists, the abuse to and of Barbadians, abuse to and of one another. It cannot continue. There is time, I believe, as well for new legislation, and we're going to have to put more teeth into the legislation. As it stands now, revocation of a jet ski license, you can only revoke a license of a person with a jet ski clearly in the law for two offenses. If it is manslaughter caused by the jet ski or the watercraft, or if it is a case where the person is convicted of repeated offenses. I feel that we have to review that. We have to make it very clear. I think in applying for a jet ski, there has to be clearer rules, and that we have to find a way to continuously monitor what is occurring on the seas, but the word has to be enforced. When we must enforce the legislation as it stands, and when we make the amendments, we must enforce that legislation as well.
Humphrey's comments came as Police Commissioner Tyrone Griffith gave an update on American couple Oscar Suarez and Magdalena DeVille, who went missing back in June. The top cop told reporters at yesterday's post-cabinet press briefing that authorities here were receiving assistance on the jet ski on which the couple was last seen.
With the assistance of the FBI, we've had investigators looking at the jet ski itself. We've had samples taken from the jet ski and examination of the engine and the body, and we're waiting results on the outcome there.
Prime Minister Mia Mottley says plans are in the works to help squatters relocate. Pointing to a policy paper prepared several years ago, she said her administration will create a loan fund and identify property to assist such individuals. Her comments come on the heels of recent reports of an increase in the number of squatters in Rockhall, St. Philip.
Therefore, the government will create a loan fund that will assist in persons being able to borrow, and the government will identify lands for the relocation of these persons. We asked that the social survey be updated because it is significantly more than the 96 persons, I'm told by the Member of Parliament in Darware. And in the circumstances, we need to have that updated social survey, just as I'm able to draw on the one that we had done when I chaired the subcommittee. The Minister of Housing has indicated that they're well in the process of doing that, I think with support from the Ministry of Welfare as well. And in the circumstances, once that is finished, then there will have to be an engagement with the residents, both collectively and individually, to see how they can be relocated. What is clear is that we would be condemning them as residents if we let them stay in that location.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Barbados Today, news you can trust. To news from our regional neighbors in St. Lucia, government's negotiating team and the Trade Union Federation failed to reach an agreement after months of negotiations. The details of that story in this HTS News Force report.
The negotiations with the public sector unions became complicated when first the police and later the nurses broke away from the umbrella Trade Union Federation. The nurses and the police signed separate deals with the government negotiating team. This meant that other public sector unions would have to sign on similar terms, or the agreement with the nurses and the police would have to be revised. The chairman of the government negotiating team, Vern Gill, says the demands being made by the public sector unions are beyond its powers.
We came ready to sign, and we were advised by the union that as far as they were concerned, there were some matters still outstanding, and on that basis they've deferred the signing. They've requested a deferring of the signing.
What does that mean for the
Well, we'll address the concerns that there is and resolve them.
That we are standing together and we are standing in solidarity with each other, and therefore we are not going to sign any collective agreement until these three affiliates have their MOUs with government.
And finally, on the international scene, the World Health Organization says 2 new drugs being tested on Ebola patients in the Democratic Republic of Congo show that more than 90% of people can survive if treated within 3 days of showing symptoms. This as the situation in the east of the country remains a major challenge since the outbreak was declared an international health emergency last month. The current outbreak has killed over 1,800 people in the country in the past year.
Modifications have been made to the treatment of Ebola patients in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Patients will now receive one of 2 investigational Ebola treatments. It's Regeneron or MAB 114. A review of randomized controlled trial, or called RCT, Data by an independent data safety monitoring board found that 2 of the treatments outperformed the 2 others. These are great news, of course, and these news will save lives and moves us closer to finding an effective treatment for Ebola.
And that's news, but for the very latest, visit us at www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper email updates or like us on Facebook and sign up for our breaking news alerts via WhatsApp. We're also on Izumi Media and bus terminals, as well as screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. And you can also hear us on Mix 96.9 FM and Capital Media HD 99.3 FM. I'm Fernella Wedderburn. Good morning.